Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Monday, April the 13th. I'm Andrew Gagan. The local market is set to begin the week strongly. ASX futures up around 0.8%, but that was prior to ceasefire talks on the weekend. Global markets ending mixed last week ahead of those ceasefire talks, which ended without any agreement. President Trump subsequently saying the US Navy would begin blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Iran responding by warning that military vessels approaching the strait would be considered a breach of the ceasefire and would be dealt with harshly. Well, Wall Street saw the Dow and S&P 500 fall on Friday, led lower by consumer staples, while tech stocks boosted the Nasdaq. For the week, the S&P added 3.6%, the Dow was up 3%, the Nasdaq rallying 4.7%. Stocks, specifically Broadcom, rose on a long-term deal to develop Google's custom AI chips, Nvidia also advancing. US-listed shares of Taiwan Semiconductor, the world's largest contract chipmaker, rose after it beat first quarter revenue forecasts. CoreWeave surged following its announcement of a multi-year agreement with Anthropic. Financial stocks underperformed ahead of major US banks posting earnings this week, marking the unofficial start to the first quarter reporting season. Analysts currently predicting aggregate year-on-year S&P 500 earnings growth of 13.9%. And locally, Morgan Stanley has slashed the valuation of major Australian-listed tech stocks, warning that investors had not properly priced in the risks of AI. Specifically, it's downgraded the share price of accounting software developer Xero by 42%. Data analytics firm Nuix has had its share price target slashed by 33%, and medical imaging firm Pro Medicus cutting by 27%. The first US-Iranian meeting in more than a decade and the highest level discussion since 1979 Islamic Revolution have ended with no agreement, although President Trump said he believed Iran would continue to negotiate. Following the talks, he said the US Navy would begin blockading the Strait of Hormuz from today to be enforced against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas. Iran has threatened to take action against any foreign military vessel approaching the strait. Meanwhile, Hungary's far-right populist leader Viktor Orban has conceded defeat after a landslide election victory by the opposition Tisza party, which has advocated closer ties to Europe. Orban has been in power for 16 years and is seen as an ally of both Russia and US President Donald Trump's administration. US inflation rose 0.9% month on month in March for an annualised rate of 3.3%. US Treasury yields rose on the data, with the 2-year up to 3.8%, the 10-year at 4.32%. Australian 3-year government bond yields rose to 4.7%, the 10-year was up to 5.03%. The US dollar jumped against other major currencies following the US-Iran talks, with investors seeking the relative safety of the currency on continued geopolitical uncertainty. The Aussie is trading at 70.2 US cents. The US plan to blockade the Strait of Hormuz is estimated to halt nearly 2 million barrels a day of Iranian oil that has been passing through the waterway. Crude futures hovered around $100 a barrel as the attacks continued. Brent crude currently at around $95 a barrel. It fell 13% last week. Gold held steady on Friday, currently trading at around $4,745 an ounce. Copper was up more than 2%. Iron ore little changed at $106 US a tonne. And Bitcoin is currently trading below 71,000 US dollars. Ahead this week, tomorrow RBA Deputy Governor Andrew Hauser speaks, and we get NAB business confidence and Westpac's consumer sentiment survey. Wednesday, the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaks, as does ECB President Christine Lagarde. Thursday, Australian unemployment data is released, and UK GDP growth figures are also released. Friday, RBA Assistant Governor Sarah Hunter speaks. And this morning, A2 Milk has downgraded its 25-26 profit outlook after supply chain disruptions in China created product shortages. That is your week ahead. We'll see you again tomorrow.